going to share with you in this wise the Godfather of Facilitation in the aspect of counseling. It can be frustrating and even disappointing, discouraging to have trusted and confided in someone or trying to help someone who doesn't know how to accept the help and refuse to help themselves. It puts you almost in makes you somewhat being or feeling defenseless against someone else's weakness. Let's try to be a little more clearer in this in a precise manner. When it feels frustrating, I often say an unfulfilled expectation leads to frustration. Behind that is a spirit of deception. It is frustrating because without reciprocity, it drains energy. When you extend insight, care, time, or protection, but the other person either doesn't have or yet tap into the adequate and proper skills to act, or refuses the responsibility to act. You are investing strength, a space that cannot hold it. Maybe the space can hold it. You be the judge of that. Either or, it creates friction. Frustration is the signal that your energy is being misused. Not that your intentions are wrong. 2, why it's disappointing. It is disappointing because trust was involved. Then you have to deal with Erickson theory, psychosocial development. You didn't just observe someone. You confided, believed, or hoped that they would rise. I often say cream rises to the top. It does it naturally, without any disturbances, you see. Disappointment happens when expectation is reasonable. Others may not see it as reasonable or applicable. Effort is insincere. I often say one's sincerity will always be tested. But growth does not occur. That's disappointing. This is especially painful for people like others who are doing their best, who operate from an understanding of tolerance, temperaments, confidence and respect. It is about responsibility, not convenience. Why is this discouraging? Discouragement sets in when you begin to feel defenseless against someone else's weakness. Their intellectual capacity. You see, an excuse is a failure to use your intelligence. This is an important phrase that is used. You are not being harmed by, to understand, you are not being harmed by malice. You're being harmed by inertia. And inertia is dangerous because it pulls others into stagnation. If boundaries are not set, that at that point, discouragement isn't sadness. It is your psyche saying, I cannot keep carrying what is not mine to carry. I think people have to get to a point, some, that what has been placed, the burden that has been placed on you is not yours to carry. Past experiences, it's not yours to carry. Move on from that, because it will weigh you down. For the hidden truth that is not compassion, it's exposure. Helping someone who refuses to help themselves creates a conditions where your empathy becomes liability. That's why you don't want enabler partners, you want accountable partners. Remember, if I use this, says that one individual send them out as tools, that they be accountable one for another. Your openness becomes exposure. Some will manipulate that, take advantage of it. Your strength becomes unprotected. You leave your guards down, take advantage of that. And even when the one you was doing the counsel had let him or her guards down, someone took advantage of that. Unprotected vulnerability. That's why it feels defenseless, you know. You are standing unarmed in someone else's unresolved weakness. 5, a necessary distinction. This matters. There is a difference between helping someone who is learning and carrying someone who is avoiding responsibility. The first builds them. The second diminishes you. Wisdom is knowing when the relationship has crossed the line. 6, a grounding truth. You are not required to rescue insight from refusal. protect people from their own unwillingness or sacrifice your stability to prove your sincerity. Understanding does not require self-abandonment. Tolerance does not mean endurance without limits. And credibility is lost when strength is overextended. Therefore, it's required for a discharge. It's the ethical thing to do. Closing clarity. When you are feeling what one could be feeling is not bitterness. It is discernment forming. It is the maturation of compassion into boundary conscious care. You are not defenseless. You are outgrowing a role that required you to absorb what others would not face. That's why I often say, can a man or a woman enter back into his or her mother's womb? Remember that living space had become insufficient, inadequate for someone to go back, so it had to come out. You are not defenseless. You are outgrowing the role that required you to absorb what others would not face. That's why I often say, I encourage to face your difficulties. The more you face your difficulties, the less difficult they become. Frustration, disappointment, discouragement. We can and must understand that out of understanding comes consciousness. As a result, we are aware. And awareness is the beginning of change. And no one won't change if they don't see an issue with their actions. The Godfather of counseling, the Godfather of facilitation, and an aspect of counseling.